All right, let's bring in Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North and get your thoughts on this. What a sad day for the United States military, sir.
No doubt about that, Martha. I'm, by the way, in Orlando, Florida, in the studios of Fox 35 WOFL, and they're tracking it down here as well. Look, here's a couple of things about that building, 197 at the Navy Yard. I've been in it many times, most recently at the Navy Yard less than a month ago for a parade at the Marine Barracks 8th and I, which is literally just 100 yards or so from the gates one of the gates where you get into this complex. 3 gates getting in. There are surveillance cameras on all of those gates and all over that complex. And so they're not only going to have the information that Dr. Bodden was just speaking of, they are also going to have lots of video to go through on all of this. There's a lesson in all of this. First, the reaction by the D.C. police, the Capitol Police, and all the Naval Criminal Investigative Service and the like, very good react, but lousy at prediction for these small events. Recall what happened with Major Hassan back in 2009. Recall what happened in Boston at the marathon. Small number of people involved, not a lot of phone calls and communication about it, not spreading the word. So predicting it and preventing it is much harder than reacting to it. We now have at least 12 dead. Lord knows how many wounded. I noticed in her press release or press statement a moment ago, Chief Lanier did not tell us how many were wounded. That may be because they're still counting them up from the various hospitals to which they were taken. At the end of the day, the lesson is going to be that we cannot predict these kinds of things, whether it was really workplace violence or terrorism or simply criminal behavior. We don't know, and we probably won't for some time. Martha?
We are just learning that the United States Senate is adjourned for the day out of an abundance of caution. They're only about 1.5 miles down the road from this facility. What did you make of Chief Lanier's admonition of people to stay inside their houses, and how the lack of specificity about where that should extend to? I mean, we've talked a little about the natural borders of the water that's on one side of this, but does that lead you to believe that they think that these 2 other guys are in there somewhere?
Well, it may well. And, of course, that's similar to what happened in the aftermath of Boston, where they literally locked down a city trying to make sure that these guys, and it turns out only one of the brothers still alive, would be able to escape. Look, if there are multiple shooters in this, 2 or more others that are involved in it, again, that's going to show on the surveillance cameras that are inside those buildings and in that complex. They're there at every single one of those gates. And so you now have investigators going through all that transpired in the hours before the 8:15 or 8:16 this morning when the fire began and the shooting started. They're going to know pretty much everything you'd want to know about the shooters.
Yeah, and that may be one of the reasons that they're very specific about the description of the clothing that these other 2 people were wearing, and a bit about what they look like as well. And they're getting some corroboration on that, apparently, from some of the other witnesses that has led them to be really concerned at this point.
Well, and an important point in that, Martha, eyewitness testimony in these kinds of cases is often less reliable than it is to look back at those videos to find out who really did this, because in the confusion and chaos of something like this, even when it's a police officer, they very often get the descriptions wrong.
Absolutely. Oliver North, thank you so much, sir.